to the first session of the six-part series, Analytics for Agencies, how agencies can leverage the new version of Google Analytics to improve marketing performance. I'm Jesse Nichols, and over the next few months, I'll be leading a series of webinars designed to introduce you to the new version of Google Analytics, as well as review ways to use the product to increase the return on your ad spend and deepen your partnership with your clients. Will each be about an hour long and held once every 3 weeks on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. You can see the link here to sign up for our notification emails and the agenda on the right. Also, search Analytics for Agencies on Google and click on the AdWords Agency Blogspot link and original post, which includes, again, the form to register for notifications, or the links where you can register yourselves for specific sessions. I manage the partner program for Google Analytics, as well as engage with the agency space in general through analytics trainings and planning sessions. I've also worked as an agency within AdWords, and so my history working with agencies allows me the additional insight needed to address the activities and responsibilities that agencies of all types tend to encounter. Although I'll be training is relevant to any user of GA, which is how I'll refer to the product for the rest of the session, the wide-ranging uses and applications for nearly every business unit of a company. And for that, this will address the specific audience of online agency planners and buyers, regardless of what type of digital media they're buying, based on someone who'd like to use GA more effectively. To introduce you to the new version of Google Analytics. For those of you who don't know, we are in the public beta phase of a new version, including a new interface. This hour, I'll help you navigate the reports and analysis tools within the new interface. Features and reports are significantly different from the previous version. No knowledge of GA is needed, so ignore the references to the previous interface. However, it will be tremendously helpful if you understand the fundamental concepts of web analytics. Analysis techniques, significant analysis techniques at least, within this session. It is primarily just a product walkthrough. Future will focus on analysis techniques, implementation, marketing campaign tracking, and even thoughts on how your company can increase its presence in the fast-growing and highly profitable web analytics industry. So let's go and get started with the training. And you're free to follow along in your own GA account, and you're also free to chat in with questions. I'll do my best to stop and take questions throughout the training. Keep in mind an hour is a very short amount of time for such a large product. In fact, the standard training series, which is known as Seminars for Success, is our live training series. It lasts 3 days long. It's a paid conference that travels around the nation. So if you're interested in an extensive and in-depth multi-day training, you may need to invest in the Seminars for Success training series. First, I'd like to discuss the analytics structure, just to make sure we're all speaking about the same type of information. You see username and login, and that immediately, architecturally, you have your accounts. So a single login can have access to multiple accounts. And it is particularly for agencies to have no more than one client per account. Why? Partially because every client should own their own website data. In fact, web analytics is simply your data about your own website. So it should be thought of as the client's property. And further, within each account are where you start tracking web properties. Now, web properties can never be removed from one account to another. So if you started an account and you have multiple clients being tracked in a single account, and that client, for example, leaves or wants higher access permissions to their own data, you can give it to them without sharing data for all of your clients. For that reason, start a new account for new clients. Just a special tip, you can only start 20 accounts per login, but give access to as many accounts as you want for a single login. So for agency reps, we typically recommend you have your client start their own account and you can give your login permission. So you can have many accounts, get access, many accounts having access under a single login. Recommend one client per account. Within an account, if your client has multiple properties, multiple websites, you can track individual properties, and a property is simply a URL. With property, you can have multiple profiles. So what does architecture allow you to do? Well, let's give you a clear example. Let's use the account on the left. I have two under a single client, googlestore.com, which is actually what I'll be using for the demo, and let's say googlechromestore.com. Very similar properties, but not the same, so they each get their own website, their own tracking code, which is given to each web property. And for Google Store, the web property on the furthest left, I have one profile, which automatically feeds all of my data about my web property. Create a duplicate of that profile, profile number 2, so that I just look at, for example, Google CPC, or my traffic for America. So what's happening here is my web property finds the URL I'm tracking, the profile, the actual data coming through. I apply filters to that profile in order to see just the data I want. So for example, in profile number 1, I might filter out all internal IP traffic just so I have a pure customer data experience. But in file number 2, again, I start with the same data, filter internal IP addresses, and then filter out everything except for Google CPC. So profile number 2 is simply a Google CPC profile. We'll briefly the benefits of this throughout this training, but much more of this will come in session number 6, which I believe is happening August 23rd, and that's your customers' data. So your implementation and account configuration guidance will come much later in this training. I really want to concentrate on the interface and analysis for the following 4 sessions. That's account structure. Now I'm going to actually go into Google Analytics. Again, this is a Google Store account, so this is not confidential or customer data. Speak to your Google account rep if you have one, if you do want to see examples directly from your account. But let me pull up the Google. Go ahead and make sure the chat window is still up. Again, if you have questions or would like answers to specific questions, please feel free to chat them in, although it's possible that I'll miss them as I go along, so I apologize. So what we're looking at here is the dashboard for the current version of Google Analytics. If you hadn't seen it before, if you hadn't explored it, everybody should have access to this little red link in the upper kind of side corner called New Version. So if you haven't explored that, that is where the new version of Google Analytics is living currently. We'll out that version as a default. You'll no longer default to the old version. You'll default to the new version in between 4 to 8 weeks. And the new version is not complete yet. It is in beta. It's fully enough for me to give a demo. I'll call out when there are features that may appear to be missing, which in fact are just very soon on their way. So if you're in the old version, and I'm going to go ahead and open this in a new tab so that we can complete it. Version, and the first notice is the Home tab. So the version of GA, again, I'll only refer to it just for comparison. Had to navigate first through all your accounts and then through all your profiles. One of the main benefits you'll see over and over again for the new version of Google Analytics is speed and accessibility. We try to allow you to get very deep in analysis very, very quickly. So you'll see here a home screen, home tab that will bring back a list of all accounts and profiles. No need to scroll through pages, no need to expand the number of rows. They're all right here. You'll see this functionality, which will allow you to quickly search through your profile names and URL or web properties. So I'll give a demonstration of this in further detail in just a moment, but you can see how each of these are web properties and each identified with a unique profile ID. So this is account number 30481, that's the one we'll be working for, and other account numbers for other, effectively, clients. So the properties within each of my accounts, are multiple profiles within one property. So ways you can either scroll through your entire list and find the profile that you'd like to work, or you can simply type in the name. Is if this works at the profile name, but also at the web property level. If you are searching for a file that has the same name as your web property, it'll be difficult to find it unless you give it some unique identifiers. So, for example, we do have Google.com profiles, but with unique identifiers, something in the URL will bring up every profile within that web property. So we were adding a few identifiers, just making it explicit as to what's included in this profile. Much easier and more efficient to search. Is that we link deep into the report suite automatically. So we'll explain these sections in just a moment, but if you know that you'd like to go directly to the content section of a certain profile, you can do so. If you know you'd like to go to traffic sources in a certain profile, you can do so. Questions that refer to things that appear to be missing, know that in the old version of GA, you used to see top-level statistics that were helpful to some, although the team is investigating the demand that puts on our collection to report top-level metrics for every account. And I can tell you that here very briefly. We felt that for the sake of speed and navigation, it was beneficial to leave that out of the current account home. That doesn't mean, so you can see here that were these to have visits, it would show top-level metrics here. That doesn't mean we'll never bring it back, but it will come back in this current iteration, and again, that's for the sake of speed and navigation. So you may see that in different report suites. Settings, you'll notice, is no longer linked to from here. Settings are all accessed within this gear icon, and you can really see the account structure I was referring to before. So I'm logged in, I have multiple accounts. The accounts represent a single client, so to speak, and they may have multiple web properties. Each of them are a different URL. And within each property, you can see multiple profiles duplicated over and over again so that we can filter out different types of information. If I want to see the entire account home, I simply click the home icon. You can see how quickly this is, how quick this works. Really navigation. So I'm going to go deeply into any single report. I'm just going to go ahead and click on this to show you where this lands you. This lands you on what's called My Site. Now, you cannot see all the tabs within this within the upper section because this account is opted into all betas. Nothing too confidential. The My Conversions tab will be coming out very soon, and we, of course, our agency partners. But you can see Custom Report has its own tab. Its segments and exporting is much clearer. Those three features I actually won't be going over until the next session in 3 weeks from now, just because there's a few updates they'll be getting between now and then that'll make them much more powerful and relevant. So we're going to wait on those three things. But what you might notice is that Dashboards has its own tab. You're no longer landing on your dashboard, which was the case before. And I'm going to try to find people. There we go. Dashboard in the old interface. The new one, you actually have to navigate, and you get to create set dashboards, and these are sticky to your login and your profile. So the dashboard function works very similarly in that you can drag and drop sections. You can even edit certain sections if you'd like to see different types of charts that would be more meaningful, and you can custom or custom gadgets, whatever you'd like to call them. So making the gadgets that are most relevant to you a great advancement in GA. Adding to Dashboard, I know that's been a common request that is coming soon. So just like in the previous version, when you're looking at a specific report, you could export to the dashboard and it would show up automatically. You will soon be able to do that in the new version of GA as well. But in the meantime, I wanted to show you how clean and simple it was to create multiple new dashboards, have them sit out, and again, you'll soon be able to email and export these for distribution as well. And you delete dashboards, but do be cautious with that since dashboards delete very quickly without much of a confirmation. Multiple dashboards, one of the brand new features within the new version of Google Analytics, and a really fun one too, since you can create one for individual campaigns. You can create dashboards for the different account managers who are working on this client. You can create it for different representatives or different contacts within your client's business, but the reports has been a long requested feature of GA. On the reports section, or just simply click back on my site, one of the great things about GA, the new GA, is that it will be sticky. So if you were looking deep in the report suite, I try to navigate that too much, deep within the report suite, and you go over to the dashboards and you come to my site, or you go to custom reports and you come back to my site, it'll be back exactly where you left off. And what I'm going to do now is show you a combination again of specific analysis tools from the most basic to a few intermediate level ones, and again we'll be saving the most advanced as well as advanced analysis techniques probably for future sessions. So and what I'll be showing here are things like, again, this is the overview page, and previous overview pages were much more like static dashboards where you couldn't do much analysis. New overview pages still give you the top level metrics that you need. You can also navigate through most any report within that section, and you can still change the metrics. It'll change the top level report that you'll need to see. So as you explore the overview sections, be sure to click through these different tabs and analysis. And if you need to see the entire report, you can dive directly into it. So again, speed, accessibility, and quickness of analysis. Note the date range is still in about the same place, although it looks slightly different. You can choose from some preset date ranges. You can still compare to past. For those who used this functionality before, it's very simple to simply select the date range that's relevant to you. And although it defaults you to this, you can select your and compare it to that past time range. So and the date feature hasn't changed much from the previous version, and again, still a very what you see is what you get interface. Changer, you can see that the left-hand navigation, and this is one of the smaller but more appreciated updates to the new version of Google Analytics, is very, very quick to navigate. It opens up and you can go deep within the navigation tree without having to wait for each report to load. I haven't explored the old interface much. You used to have to click into individual reports, wait for it to load, and then you could go into it. This new quick tree, quick navigation allows you to navigate right to where you want it and simply load the report that you want right away. So the actions have not changed from the old interface to the new. Visitors still indicates characteristics or dimensions of the visitor that came with them as they arrived. So the way to characterize this information is this is hard facts about the visitor themselves that don't change throughout a session. So what location did they come from? We'll go through individual report moment, but are they new visitors? Are they returning? These don't change throughout the course of their visit. And part, even with some new technologies, don't change much over time. This is where we also get a lot of information about the technology that they're using. This indicates, it should tell you about the last site that sent you here, that sent your visitor to your site. So this will show you information about the person themselves. Traffic sources is how they got to your site, for as much as we can know, and there are limits to that. Content will show their experience while on your site, and then conversions, which we're actually not going to go over in tremendous detail today. We'll tell you about what experiences they completed on your site. So who are they? How there? What do they do there? And did complete some valuable activities that you've deemed as such. Okay, we'll go into some individual reports. I'll be showing brief glimpses at reports. You need to navigate to these to figure out which ones are the most relevant to your specific position, but all of these are valuable either way. We'll first do recency and frequency report. First thing you should notice about this report is that it's really one report. It's called the Free and Recent Receipt Report. In this version, that was 2 different reports. And one of the ways we've made our report suite more compact is by tucking reports right here. And you can, I don't know if you can see my mouse, I assume you can, but right above the count of visits column, you'll see viewing count of visits, and then since last visits. And this is called the simple segmentation tool. The count of visits show your visitor segments, visitors who've come once, visitors who've come twice, who've come 3 times. These are different segments. The segment of visitors who have come once, the segment of visitors who have come twice. So that's a way to segment your traffic. The days since they visited last. The reason this is important is as we navigate through reports, keep in mind that there may be a report that appears to be missing when in fact it is just within a simple segmentation of another report. And again, this is to make our reporting suite less bloated, more compact and streamlined, and make some very relevant and closely related reports easily accessible. The other thing you'll note about the look and feel is that as a location report, there are a few of them that have changed names or become more compact. So the map overlay was a very common report that people accessed. It's now called location report. So if you feel like you're missing a report, please go ahead and click through the thought it used to live, and it very well may have just changed names slightly. So overlay report, a very a fan show here are that you still have a very clickable interface. It's still very easy to dive through reports. So the overlay, if you want to see one country, you can click into individual countries. If you want to see one state, you can click into an individual state. But point out is the segmentation indicator, the segmenticator. This tool, this little pie chart, will give you a sense of just what percentage of your total visitors you're looking at any given time. And the reason that's important is that you may not realize that the report you're looking at only represents a small portion of your total visitors. So it's just one way of giving you context on what you're looking at. If I dove into California, you'd be looking at an even smaller percentage of your total visitors. Again, very important to keep context. And I'll press the back button to get back to the US. Just moving down the screen, what used to be tabs down above the actual grid are now tabs right under the Metrics Explorer. So these links are known as the Metrics Explorer, and they view the metrics grouped in a similar way as they were in the old interface. So if you have goals enabled, which are done at the profile settings level and highly recommended, they'll be your goal sets. You have e-commerce enabled, which takes additional code configuration show in the e-commerce Metrics Explorer. And within each of the Metrics Explorers, you can explore different graphs within your trend or within your graph interface. So, for example, first Metrics Explorer showing you how many visits came from each state based on a heat map. The darker state, the more visits came from. The next will give you a sense of how much revenue is coming from each state. Transaction rate is for each state. Metric Explorer, I'll show you in different reports, works about the same in most reports. It basically changes the graph to an additional set of context. It's not uncommon if you're looking in the US and you're looking at visits for New York, California, Florida, and Texas to be the darkest because they have the greatest internet populations. It can be much more insightful to understand which has the e-commerce conversion rate, which states have the highest per visit value, or which states bring in the most revenue overall. So I highly encourage you to use the Metrics Explorer. And let me back out to the world. You'll see our simple segmentation tool, and again, this will show you just simply a different slice of the data you're looking at, right? And if I all countries, that's what it defaults to. If I want all cities, Again, simple segmentation, all or sense region, the simple segmentation tool. Alternative to drilling into individual images on the map, you can click through country and territory, individuals, and it's just the same as working on the map. And all I'm intending to show here are just base functionality that you may have known in the last interface, making sure that you can still access it in the new interface. One feature that I've known to, although gotten significantly more advanced, is sometimes hard to find. The search functionality used to be located below the report. It's now above the report, but it works the same way as it's one click. As soon as you click on it, if you just find a single state or a single row with the report you're looking at, and there you have it. You may activate searches, and you'll see that through those little X boxes that X box on the right of the search functionality, and unfiltered search. So one thing you may have noticed is that when you search, search is active. Simply click X box to the right. And as needed, I'm going to have to move the chat box around here. You can do as needed up to 500. You can send directly to individual pages. You can still page or go to the next page and return. All that, none of that has changed. And I want to show you for the map overlay report. So again, feel free to chat in questions. This is just a translation of the old interface to the new. You can add widgets at the report level. This is similar to the add to dashboard functionality that existed within the old interface. That will appear near the export button. It's not up there yet, but again, as a beta product, we're still pulling off some development. So for example, emailing is not an option right now. It will come out very soon. Export, not an option. Exporting as a PDF. All of these will be coming out very soon, but I still saw it valuable to start the session off and show you what we could. Out to some of the other custom variables is a feature that needs end user defined variables or features that need to be activated additional tags. So don't be surprised if you don't see any data there. With the on measurement and implementation, or fifth section, pardon me. And here you'll see known maybe otherwise, such as depth and depth of visit, which we now call engagement. Technology, you'll see your the technology that the visitor used to get there to your site. And again, this is very important to notice the simple segmentation. Many reports which made the reporting suite seem very lengthy are now tucked within other reports within the simple segmentation tool. So operating system, screen resolution, and others that can be very important to website optimization are within the simple segmentation. And dedicated mobile report, mobile visitors are tracked automatically so long as your site can appear on a mobile phone and it appears with the tracking code. Your mobile visitors will come through. Actually, that's rather interesting. Probably because of Google I/O, you can see our Google store is increasing in traffic today. Operating system, screen, very important for mobile optimization, and service provider. Although we don't currently offer a mobile model, it is something we're considering. So again, a lot of superficial changes, some very interesting changes for analysis. I'm going to continue to go over some of the basic features, but this will hopefully make you feel comfortable as you navigate the new interface. The all traffic report, what is known as all traffic sources, is now within incoming sources, and that's differentiated from AdWords, since AdWords has an expanded report suite that we'll go over in a moment. Sources contains all traffic. For those of you who aren't familiar with the terminology, direct is when someone dropped in to site by type directly. Referrals when one site linked to your site. Search, obviously, for people who are through some sort of search engine, paid and non-paid, and paid. campaigns. I want to make two quick points about these sections, and I'll reiterate them in a moment. In order for something to be tracked as a campaign, in order for a visitor to be tracked as a campaign, they must be, and what does that mean? It means they must have landed on your site with specific URL tags that Google Analytics can read and interpret. So, as we know, we all have ad content and copy. That copy leads to a specific destination URL. That destination URL, in order to show up as a campaign in Google Analytics, needs URL tags. We'll be in the third section, measuring all media, how to create and manage a robust campaign tagging system so that you measure all types of digital media, but until those tags are applied, they will not show up in the campaign reports. Similarly, paid is of paid media. Therefore, it must have been, or the way that WebEx and Google Analytics specifically work is that it must be tagged in order to have showed up not only as a campaign, but as anything but free. So Google Analytics, by default, as does all web analytics, again, they typed it in directly, as in a site linked to your site, one site linked to your site, or a search engine. But it's all free and it's all organic until tagged as otherwise. So if you'd like something to show up as a paid campaign or as a paid search, it needs to be tagged, and again, that'll be covered in measuring all media, but you're welcome to look up URL tagging or campaign tagging for Google Analytics to learn more. Traffic. I want to quickly again the metrics explorer for this, since it does change a trend line as opposed to a country heat map. And you hear that some are more insightful than others. With Google Analytics, this is an update that came in the older version. You have different types of goals that you can set. So your time on site for allowing it to be complete if a certain number of minutes was spent on the site or a certain number of pages were spent on the site, but allowing yourself to fit trends, peaks, values in your conversion rate metrics can be very helpful for additional context. Simple segmentation explorer. Just as in the map overlay, you can drill into specific segments to explore them more. Drilled into just Google.com referral. So this isn't a search referral. This is just other Google properties, since I'm exploring the Google store. Other sending traffic to us, we're looking at gets edited. So all I'm trying to call out here again is being aware of what part you're looking at. So as you continue to explore, you're not getting lost or out of context. Traffic report, again, I'm not going to explain every report for the sake of time. All traffic can be very helpful for understanding where are all the different places that visitors are coming to from my site. And since you have a considerably high number of sites sending you traffic, you may want to consider expanding this or offline investigation. Types of traffic, again, Search Suite has its own report suite. Organic and paid. Now, because it's the Google Store account, permanently large traffic to this, but we do have enough for general examples. Although, again, it will separate them from organic and paid immediately. So if you'd like to see your organic and paid traffic together, I have to go back again to the simple segmentation. Showing is all of your traffic that is keyword traffic, regardless of whether it's organic and paid, together, and the performance and performance metrics with it. Something else out here is we are going to be inserting the visits column right before orders so that conversion rate gets a bit more context. But the all keyword report doesn't exist as it used to. You need to overview and segment by keyword. Within a single section, again, this is organic traffic or paid traffic for all search engines. So this isn't differentiating between just Google or just Bing search engines. These are all search engines. And again, you'll see a few additional helpful segments or segmentation tools for things like SEO or just simple campaign analysis landing pages, sources. If you really need to know, broken up by traffic sources, who's sending you the most traffic, or what types of traffic each one is sending you, within simple segmentation. Similar with paid. Reports. What we would typically see in here, especially if you aren't doing a lot of campaign tagging, not set is perfectly normal to see within this report. This is simply all traffic that doesn't have a campaign variable set to it. So again, if it doesn't have a tag, it's not seen as a paid visitor. I'm looking at all of my visits. Most visits are not tagged. That's what that means, and I just wanted to call that out to avoid any confusion. But again, for the campaigns that you do have tagged, regardless of the source, if it's Google campaigns, social campaigns, display, other search engines, they all show up in a single report. I can't emphasize the importance of this report enough. If you are effective and consistent at tagging all online campaigns for Google Analytics, you'll have a single report that shows all possible, or that shows metrics for every campaign that's driven traffic to your site. This doesn't show pre-visit metrics like impressions or clicks. This is all post-visit, so visits once they're on your site, what else have they done? A tremendously powerful report if you are measuring all of your media. Call out some of the improvements to the AdWords reports if you haven't been in there for a while. The AdWords reports, a phenomenal reporting suite and the tightest integration on the market with AdWords, regardless of what web analytics tool you're using. I suggest navigating through this if you'd like to use the simple segmentation tool. It can give you an analysis at a speed that is unseen even in your AdWords account. But reports that you may not have seen before, we now report by hour and day of week that the visitor visited, in case you'd like to participate in ad scheduling. Try to expose the destination URL when relevant. We have more context than ever on your content placements, so if they're an automatic or a manual placement, you can click in and see exactly what domain, even the spell that was purchased, and within the placements, and positions, an old report that you've known and loved. If you've used GA before, you know exactly how keywords are performing at different spots in the Google search property. To the content section, and this is going about the page that I expected. I'm going to stop and just scroll through and make sure there are any questions that I can answer, that I can address. Let's see. There's about the date range resetting. I'm not sure if I can replicate that behavior in here, but the date range should maintain as you navigate reports. If I misspeak on behalf of the product at any point. Again, undergoing developments. There's actually a large push this week that will, product to parity with the old version as well. By province for Canada, you can actually see that this report was range. So, question around whether or not date ranges will stay the same as you navigate through reports. That the answer should be yes. Navigating through provinces through Canada, we have considered but have not yet planned out any ability to segment within regions for every country, and I think that Canada would be first in line if we were to be developing for that, but unfortunately not planned in the new version of GA. There's dollar index is actually being the value of dollar index is being as a metric is being reconsidered right now, so it's not going to be available in the new interface until a decision has been made on that. Goals we will cover setting goals, determining the right goals and how to set them in the in session number 5. Again, I believe that's August 23rd, and that's that will go over full feature implementations of Google Analytics from soup to nuts, account configuration, implementation scoping, implementation planning, and delivering implementation guidance when you don't own the website. Goals are separated. Each goal set can have up to 5 goals in it, so you get 4 goals of 5 per profile, and you can get so that means you can get up to 20 goals per profile. And as you navigate through, the goals are clumped together for ease of viewing and navigation. Creations can be migrated from the old version to the new version of GA. That includes advanced segments, custom reports, scheduled emails. There will be methods in place to migrate over your previous settings. From Dan, will we be able to save searches? Not an option right now to save a search like you would in an advanced segment, but certainly feedback that I'll pass back to the team. Questions about the GA-IQ test. The GA-IQ, for those of you who don't know, is a certification exam that tests general skills with GA across the board. So this is some implementation, some technique, some analysis, some navigation. The test will be updated to reflect the new interface, but that won't happen until the new interface is default and you can't go back to the old version. But that's, it is a good baseline, a good benchmark for just making sure you're able to answer common questions about the product. Access mode, that's actually a great question because this rolled out just last week. Fast access mode is the new way we're referring to sampling because there was a lot of confusion about what was happening when we showed that data was being quote-unquote sampled. I can speak about that a little bit now, but I'll speak about it much more next time. Fast access mode is simply indicating the fact R based on a sample of your data, but the reason that we're doing that is in order to pull the report up quickly. So large data sets, it's difficult for us to quickly generate reports without using a sampling calculation where we look at this, we take a percentage of them that we think represents the whole, and then we set that report instead of using the quote-unquote true numbers. And that's important. Is not only does it help you analysis quicker reports, really what you're looking for with analytics are significant trends, and the hard numbers, although helpful, can more work than worth. And the quote that I like to throw out there is that perfect can be the enemy of the good, and what we're looking to do is aid quick analysis rather than regardless of how long it would take, get you the exact accurate numbers every single time. These sampling calculations are highly statistically significant and very helpful to use. Be available. We do have a feature known as sort, but again very soon in the new interface. Conversion, you should be able to select your conversion if you have commerce enabled. Might require more follow-up if clear. Around specific reports, so I'm going to go and dive into the content section, and I'll try to finish up with questions towards the end. Again, this is about what people did when they were on your site, and I'm going to show you a few of my favorite reports and conclude with a few events, a few comments on the goals in e-commerce overview. But again, we're going to get into a lot more great analysis techniques on future webinars. Content is where you may have known to be top content. That's now called Pages, and Pages also holds the page title report. So the actual URLs on your site. Page title was the information passed, a little bit more human friendly, but depends on how you've named your pages. That's within a single report. To drill into specific pages, Site Explorer with a few new metrics, but you have a navigation summary. This is a page that I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with from the old interface, but when you click into this, the simple path analysis, so what pages they came to before they got to this URL, where did they most commonly after, did they outside the site, or was this part of a longer experience? With Explorer, you can view a bit more data about this, but I'm going to go into deep analysis in later sections. Just and note that you may be looking at a very, very small percentage of your total page views. Even these, many of your visitors saw this page somewhere within their experience. Drill down. Quick about this is that this basically reflects your URL. So if, we're looking at googlestore.com, then what this section is telling you is how many people visited where this first directory was something like wearables or accessories. Regardless of what came after that second dash, there are many pages within the accessory section that gives you a top-level understanding of what sections of your page, of your site, were people visiting. And as you click a single one, like accessories section, what specific pages were people seeing, and so on and so forth. If you have multiple levels to your URL, then you can continue to click in. Exit pages, both great for inspiration on website optimization. Markdown landing pages. Entrances are different than visits in that with landing pages, you're looking at just the number of visitors who came from outside. So if you have 141,000 visits to the home page, that doesn't mean it had that many visits overall. That's just how many times someone landed from outside the site. And similarly, when someone did land from outside, how many of them left right away. So bounce rate on these pages can look often exorbitantly high, and that's again because it's not counting all visits, it's just how many people actually landed on the page. So just a note about the analysis here. It can be a little deceptive when you're looking at bounce rate. So 5,000 visited this page, and 72% of them bounced. It was 75% out of the 141,000 that visited. So just keeping in context what these how these metrics change as you navigate the reports. Just really quickly, site speed, a brand new report that does require implementation, and this literally came out last week, so we're just starting to test this on our own site. But the site speed report does require an additional tagging script to be activated. So events are an addition, but great for things like video tracking or monitoring how people are engaging with social objects on your site. Flagging, all great with events. Also takes additional implementation, but it depends on your site. So site search is how people are using the search functionality within your own site. And again, that some reports that you used to see are now within the site selector, or the segment selection tool. Conversions and e-commerce report suite need to be configured within profile settings, configured within with tags on your actual site, and again, this information flows back through to all of your other reports. So these features need to be activated in order for it to show up in other reports. That I'd like to show for the new interface. This product, I think it's a lot more fun once you get to the actual analysis, but it's really hard to get through analysis and train to the new interface at the same time. What I would recommend is go back, analytics account, start to click around, get comfortable with the navigation, and talk a lot more about analysis. But to get comfortable with navigation and analysis at the same time can be a bit overwhelming. Just know that we're going to chunk this into small bits and help understand the product holistically by the end of this series. with 5 minutes to spare, I'm going to stop the recording. You'll be able to use this for future trainings if needed, but we will be posting a recording of this on the Agencyland portal, which you can, again, get to by searching Agencyland on google.com. We'll also be posting recorded sessions on the blog. So check out for those. Thanks again for attending, everyone. I'll be hanging out for questions, and have a great day.